This is an interview with Director of Photography Oren Soffer, who shot the GFX ETERNA 55 launch film OK. He shares his impressions of working with the camera. Oren, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. We're here at the GFX ETERNA 55, it's called now, event. And you did an amazing launch film for them. What is the film called?
It's called OK.
OK, yeah.
Yes.
It was more than OK, it was impressive. It was a very emotional story and one of those things where you forget that you're actually watching something which should demo footage. So that's really good.
Oh, thank you so much.
So I hope it's going to be online and we can show the audience as well. First of all, I think a lot of people know you as the person who probably killed high-end cinema cameras by filming a feature film. The Creator, which was shot on the FX3, which did remarkably well. It was also very impressive and kind of proved to a lot of people that you don't need an expensive camera to film a feature film. Mm-hmm. Now here we are, some years later, with a camera that is not exactly expensive, but it is, of course, a format that people are probably not as used to, with a large format sensor that has its own kind of advantages and challenges, I guess. Just talk to me a little bit about the process with Fujifilm and how you ended up doing this film.
Yeah, Fujifilm called me, and I had collaborated with them a little bit on stills. I actually took a lot of stills on the set of The Creator with the GFX 100. And I shared them. Actually, they used them for some of the promotions and behind the scenes. And I've shared them online since, so you can go see those on my website. And I did a little kind of social collaboration with them on that project. And then they called me for this and asked if I wanted to make a film with them for the Eternal launch. And of course, I said yes. But I'm a DP. I don't really have scripts lying around, that I've written. But I have a friend who does, and I called my friend Andrew, who's a writer-director. We workshopped some ideas, and then he ended up writing the script based on a very personal experience, and it was just kind of perfect. I mean, it hit everything that we were looking for. I wanted something that could put the camera in multiple different filming scenarios, day, night, interior, exterior. We could mix formats, but that was really as specific as I got, and we were kind of bouncing some ideas. We knew we wanted something vaguely sci-fi, but grounded, contemporary, single location, and yeah, it just kind of blossomed out of that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you were very limited with time, right, with the camera. You mentioned it in the Q&A that you kind of had to both the prep just in order to select the lenses, but also the shooting time as well.
Yeah, we had 4 days to shoot, which really was enough for what we made. Obviously, you can always use more time, but we managed to shoot everything we needed. And prep was pretty condensed also because we made the really wise decision to shoot the week after CineD. So, even just accessing the camera was a little tricky, and there weren't that many production camera bodies in existence at that time.
Yeah.
So that was really smart on our part, but it was just the circumstances. That's when all the schedules aligned. So, just having access to the camera for testing and everything was very condensed. To test lenses and to even just get hands on the camera body. But it all worked out. We had access to it exactly when we needed. We had a nice test day for lenses and had enough time to shoot the test footage, bring it into PhotoCam, develop our LUT, and then bring the camera up to Oregon, where we filmed, Portland, Oregon, and have the local camera team prep the camera and build for a few days before our shoot. So in the end, we did have the prep time that we needed, but it did feel a little condensed.
And in terms of, just talk me a little bit about the lens choice and the format choice, because you mixed 4x3 and anamorphic widescreen.
Yeah.
Why is that, and what kind of lenses did you end up using?
Yeah, we did. So in testing, this wasn't the original intent, but I think right away, as soon as we put spherical lenses on the camera, I realized that it would be really interesting to shoot the sensor as is. Full open gate, not cropped, not manipulated at all, because it really showcases what's unique about the camera, and really highlights also what's special about certain optics that you put on the camera, and the optical combination of fast vintage spherical lenses with a very large sensor, and the very special depth of field that you get from that combination. So we just kind of fell in love with that look, and it really looked like and reminded me of medium format still photography, since it really is the same sensor that's in the GFX camera, the stills camera. So it was an image that just felt immediately familiar to me.
How did you feel about framing for this aspect ratio? It kind of...
Well, again, it was great because I'd been taking stills
Yeah.
on it for so long. So to me, it just felt like framing a still,
Yeah.
but with adding motion to it now, right? So it felt very familiar and very exciting to me to take that that format and take that kind of framing and composition, but bring it to life with motion. And I was really interested to see what we could do, and then also add the anamorphic element to it, because it's a 4x3 sensor. I knew we could put a 2x anamorphic on and utilize the full height of the sensor, but still get the full widescreen anamorphic. And originally we intended to crop to a 2:3:9 ratio, but again, we just saw the full D-squeeze 266 image and just fell in love with it. Loved all the aberrations that we got on the edges, and just loved the extra kind of epic nature of the widescreen. So we kept it. We didn't crop that ratio either. So that's how we kind of landed on those formats. We knew we were going to mix formats. That was the original plan. But the way we specifically framed them, I think, emerged from the testing and just seeing what the lenses actually looked like on the sensor.
What lenses did you use?
For spherical, we used rehoused Fujica EBC lenses. They're cinema lenses from the 70s that were developed by Fuji, that were rehoused by TLS and Ancient Optics beautifully. And they just have this gorgeous look. It's very unique. That kind of almost a combination of a stills lens and a cinema lens. They have very, very pronounced vintage characteristics, very glowy highlights, very, very pronounced soft fall off on the edges. They're very painterly, very portraity. For anamorphic, we used the Zelmis Apollo lenses. It was pretty hard to find anamorphics that cover the sensor. There's a few modern anamorphics that cover. We found the Atlas Mercury's covered, the Remus, Blazar Remus's cover, I believe.
The Remus, I think, is a 1.5.
Yes, exactly. So this was the thing, is the Atlas Mercury's are as well. So there's a few anamorphics that cover that weren't 2x.
Yeah.
And we also specifically wanted anamorphics that have a bit of a vintage character to them, that have very pronounced anamorphic flares, that have that kind of 1970s look, very Spielbergian, part of the visual thematics of the piece. So the Zelmis were really the only ones that we found that had that. That fit what we were looking for.
Nice.
And I didn't know they would cover. I was actually kind of surprised because I knew they covered LF, but I didn't know they also covered this size sensor, so it was a pleasant surprise.
I know people who use it for the VistaVision on the red, so I guess it's even more than that.
Yeah, it's more. Yeah, I didn't realize they would, but it was really the tighter focal lengths that covered. I'm not sure that the wider ones did.
Yeah.
But we only really used the 75 millimeter and the 100 millimeter. So, don't quote me that all of them cover, but at least those ones did.
I'm aware you used the camera when it was in a very early firmware.
Yes.
So I'm sure you couldn't use all the functions, but I'm still going to ask, did you have a chance to try the new electronic variable ND?
That function wasn't ready when we shot the film, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I tried it today. On the demo model, and it's really cool.
Nice.
I love a variable ND.
Yeah, it's very useful to have built into the camera, and we didn't expect Fuji to have that feature. Honestly, it was quite a surprise to hear that.
I knew that one was coming, and I was really hoping we would have it because we shot a lot of scenes at dusk and sunset, and it's perfect for that kind of shooting environment when you're shooting all through sunset and into blue hour. It's the perfect tool to just be able to ride a variable ND all through that and not have to start swapping glass filters. it's just the
every
best.
2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. You just continuously open the ND as the light fades during a take.
Yeah.
You know, you can just be rolling and rolling and rolling as the light fades, and you just keep opening the ND. So it's great. But we didn't test it in the film, but it is a cool feature.
Yeah. We just talked before we started recording that actually this week has been amazing in terms of new camera releases from a lot of manufacturers. Probably the busiest week when it comes to cine camera releases, or you know, whatever, even from entry level to kind of high end, like the GFX Eterna.
Yeah.
But we see that now there is really a trend with many manufacturers to have raw recording inside the camera. Now Fujifilm, the GFX Eterna 55 has ProRes 422 HQ. It doesn't have internal RAW. How do you think about that? I mean, is this something you're missing or that you missed when you were shooting the film?
Honestly, no. And you know, it's something I've been thinking about as these cameras have been coming out with internal RAW. And it's so funny because, you know, when I'm old enough to have kind of experienced the switch to digital, at least HD digital. Obviously, I've been shooting digital before, and you know, mini DV form and HVX and all that, but the switch to kind of more high-end digital. And in those early days, all we shot was ProRes. We didn't really shoot RAW until many, many years later, because even in the early days of the Alexa, the earlier projects that I was shooting were all in ProRes, because you had to record RAW externally to an external codecs recorder. And it was too cumbersome and expensive for projects like the ones I was doing in those days to do. And throughout all of that time, I mean, I've shot feature films and many projects in log ProRes, and it was a really great format, really robust. And on this project, we found that to be the same, that to be the case. The Fuji log format was really, really robust, deep format with really great color depth and solid dynamic range. And we had no issues digging information out of it in the color grade, even at ProRes 422. And it made me really think about this kind of proliferation of RAW as an internal recording format in these cameras at this price range specifically, because, you know, to me, the types of projects that shoot with these cameras, I think probably don't need RAW. You know, like, for me at least, the types of projects that really need to record RAW are very high-end, expensive Hollywood cinema blockbusters. And if you're shooting a movie like that, you're probably not going to use one of these cameras anyway. You're probably going to use an Alexa or Venice or something like that as your main camera, and record RAW in that format. And these cameras that are coming out, which are incredible tools and are really just continuing to open up the world and democratize filmmaking for so many filmmakers and so many creators, and just really, really open up the field. I think for indie filmmakers and creators and all of these people that have access to these tools, RAW is kind of overkill. Like, you don't really need the extra information that you get from that.
Well, and you still have the option
format
to record externally if you want to.
You still have if you need to, you can record externally. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, I'll get off my soapbox, but it's just something that I've been thinking about over the last few days as it's kind of come up in conversation, that, you know, this camera especially, I think, is designed so that if you need to build it out for a more high-end cinema application, you can add the external RAW recorder like we did with the FX3, and like you can do with, you know, other cameras that don't have internal RAW. But for people who are going to use it not built out for a full cinema application, but for a more stripped down doc approach or indie or whatever, you probably don't need RAW. You know, the internal codec is really good.
And the other concern that a lot of people had, of course, because after Fujifilm originally announced the GFX Eterna based on the GFX 102, which is a stills camera and 102 megapixel sensor, and suffers from rolling shutter. And I mean, noticeable rolling shutter. And that doesn't matter if you have a photo camera, right? Not as much, not nearly as much. And when they said that the guts and the processor would be the same, that was the biggest concern that people had. Now, we hadn't had a chance to film with the GFX Eterna yet. We know that the Fujifilm team has been working hard on, you know, addressing that specific issue. Is this something in any shape or form that you were concerned about? I know we asked this question before in the Q&A and they said, did you see it on screen? No, we did not. But were there any shots that you took where it was noticeable or something that you had an issue with at all?
Yeah, I mean, I can honestly say no, and that's not to say that it isn't present.
Yeah.
Every digital camera that doesn't have a global shutter has rolling shutter because of the way that these sensors and their readouts work. The amount that's tolerable to somebody is ultimately subjective. And all I can really say to answer that question is that people will just have to test the camera or look at footage and kind of decide for themselves.
Yeah.
Is the amount something that, you know, they feel comfortable with. I can answer for me, for the film that we shot, which involved a lot of handheld photography, very intensive whip pans and no holds barred on a very dynamic camera. I did not run into any scenario where I found it particularly distracting. Yeah, but again, that's my subjective experience, right? And other people who might be more scrutinizing or technical minded might have a different opinion, but that's my view on it.
Last question, actually a two-part question. First of all, would you use this camera on your next film? And who do you think this camera is for? Like, who are the people who are going to jump on this camera?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would certainly use it again. I'm excited to, I think I mentioned this in the Q&A, but I'm really excited to try more lenses on it and to try different configurations. We really only filmed with it in either handheld or on a slider, and that was pretty much it. So there's a lot more to do with it, put it on a Steadicam or a drone or a gimbal that we didn't get a chance to try. So I'd be really excited to see this sensor in that format in different ways of motion. I really think that this is a camera that will be very flexible in use, but I think it's especially powerful for independent filmmakers. I think it really packs a punch in a small package, and I'm really excited to see what filmmakers will be able to take it out into the field and do with it at a lot of different production levels, but especially independent narrative filmmakers and documentary filmmakers. Nice. I think it could do some really interesting images, could make some really interesting images out of it.
I'm excited to see medium format / large format in film becoming not mainstream, but like more commonplace with this camera, and images out of it look absolutely amazing, as you proved. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And see you on the IBC floor. And thanks everybody for watching. Stay tuned to CineD for a lot more from IBC 2025.
Thanks so much.